This is the all-new Ducati Monster, and when I say all-new, it means it has got an all-new frame, an all-new engine and all-new electronics. Well, this is kind of a big deal for Ducati, because if you want to enter the world of Ducati, well, this is realistically the first Ducati that you're going to buy. Of course, there's Scrambler Ducati as well, but this is what I think is a proper Ducati. Now, the old Monster was here, it was the 821, but with this version, Ducati has done away with all the suffixes. So this is the only Monster that's available in India right now. And like I said, it is a big deal. And we are at the Buddh International Circuit today to experience it firsthand. So is the Monster back? And how much of a difference does this new frame and new engine make to the whole package? Well, that's what we are going to tell you today.
You're watching the autoX YouTube channel. You can also get your daily dose of all things automotive on our website, autox.com, and follow us on social media. Don't forget to check out our monthly magazine and make sure to hit the bell and subscribe button so you don't miss a thing.
Now, the biggest change is, of course, the new frame, and like I said, the design has also been changed because of the new frame. So as you can see, there is no trellis frame of the old bike. That was something that was present in all the Monsters ever since it was first launched in 1992. But with this version, Ducati has done away with that. Now, instead of that, you get an aluminium frame, which is derived from the likes of Panigale V4. So that means it has got that super bike frame here. Now, apart from that, of course, it is actually quite compact, and it definitely has those monster bits. But with this version, Ducati has definitely tried out a lot of new stuff. Like, for example, the indicators here, they look quite nice. They are integrated onto the fuel tank, and they come with dynamic LEDs. So great touch. Same with the headlamp. It is still round, well, not quite round, but it comes with the DRL LED tech, and it looks quite smart. Now, of course, you can say it has a bit of influence from MV Agusta, but then actually in profile, this motorcycle looks like a monster, like the old 821. I think in terms of dimensions, this is more or less like that. Now, my favorite bit is, of course, the fuel tank, which is quite narrow now, and I'll tell you about the riding experience in a bit. But the fuel tank is quite narrow, and this motorcycle is quite accessible as well. In fact, the seat height is just 820 millimeters, and you can lower it to 775 millimeters. So that means even for short riders, it is quite accessible. Now, the other thing is, of course, these exhausts, these dual exhausts look quite smart. They're quite good. They sound also very nice. And my favorite bit is, of course, the new tail. So again, it has a bit of the Panigale influence. It also looks quite sharp and tidy. Overall, in terms of aesthetics, I think Ducati has hit the nail on the head, because this motorcycle, you check the quality, you check everything that's on offer, it is top class. So in terms of design, in terms of fit and finish, there's still a proper Ducati, and they haven't cut any corners. Now, when you sit on the bike, like I said, it's very compact, very narrow, and you can grip the bike quite well. So it feels very light also, and that's also the case because this motorcycle is full 18 kilograms lighter than the old 821. And when you ride it, you feel the difference. Again, I'll tell you more on that later. But apart from that, it also feels quite premium and quite modern. You see, it also comes with the instrument cluster that is again derived from the Panigale V4. The Monster also gets a revised electronics package, and that means it now packs cornering ABS, traction control and wheelie control. All of these can be adjusted to different levels of intervention. Since it comes with a ride-by-wire throttle, riders can choose between 3 riding modes: Sport, Urban and Touring. Sport is of course the most aggressive, and that was the mode that we used for most of the part today, while in Touring mode, the power delivery is softened. In Urban mode, the power output is limited to 75 bhp. The Monster also gets a new engine, which is a 937cc L-twin engine that also powers the recently launched Super Sport 950. The engine develops 109 bhp at 9250 rpm and offers a peak torque of 93 Nm. It marks a gain of 2 bhp and 7 Nm over the 821's engine. The engine also comes mated to a 6-speed gearbox featuring a hydraulic clutch as well as a quick shifter. So we have just got done with our first session, and I think this engine, well, it definitely stands out because you see, it's lighter by around 2.6 kilograms, and performance wise also it's quite brisk. Another thing I like about this engine is that first of all, it's very refined, and the power delivery is quite linear, and it doesn't feel like the old bike. So in the old bike, what used to happen if you're riding on the track, you'll have sudden burst of power around 3000, 4000 RPM, and that's when it used to pick up. But this one, it's more linear, more friendly and smoother. So throttle response is really crisp. You don't have that jerkiness that used to be the case with the old Monster 821. So in that regard, it is a step up. Now in terms of performance, of course, the whole bike is lighter. It only weighs 166 kilograms dry weight. So you feel that weight because this definitely feels more eager. It has a better power to weight ratio, so that means when you're on the track, when you're riding it really fast, you can feel that it is a quick motorcycle. So the old Monster, of course, it had a performance, but it never felt this eager. And this is one of the biggest changes for me because it feels like a completely different bike. It doesn't feel like the Monster. It doesn't have that Monster element anymore. Of course, on the track, we are always on the go. We are just riding fast. So on the street, probably we'll come to know about more. But for the track, I think this engine, it's very tractable and it has performance everywhere. Only I think at really low RPMs, that's when you feel it is a little juddery, but that's just nitpicking. Otherwise, the engine, well, I can't complain about anything. I think this has just changed the character of the Monster, to be honest. The suspension setup comprises non-adjustable 43mm upside-down front forks and a preload adjustable rear monoshock. And for braking duties, the bike is equipped with dual 320mm front discs with radially mounted Brembo 4-piston calipers and a 245mm rear disc with a 2-piston floating caliper. The motorcycle is shod with Pirelli Diablo Rosso 3 tires. Among other tweaks, the steering angle has been increased to 36 degrees, which is 7 degrees more than the 821, and of course it makes the motorcycle more agile. The handlebar has also been pulled back by 2.75 inches and the foot pegs are also repositioned to give a more upright riding position. Usually when we come for track days on media rides, we don't get enough time to spend with motorcycles. But thankfully, Ducati India has been kind enough today and they let us ride the motorcycle to our heart's content, and we did nearly 3 to 4 sessions. So enough time with the motorcycle, and of course, I think of course the engine is one big change, but it's the frame that makes the real difference. Earlier, the Monster 821, it had a trellis frame and it was a very heavy motorcycle, and it also used to feel very front heavy. But with this new frame, all of that is gone. It feels light, it feels agile, and when you're riding it on the track, well, you'll also notice the change because of the revised geometry. So the turn-in is much sharper and you can throw this motorcycle around corners very quickly. It's also quite stable, but of course during quick switchbacks you can feel it can get twitchy initially, but once you have learned the behavior of the motorcycle, like by the third session, I think I had figured out how this motorcycle behaves, and that's when I started enjoying it. Again, it has similar frame like the V2 or the Panigale V4, so it feels very confident. The front end has a lot of feel. The only problem is, of course, it's a street motorcycle, so it has street settings, as in the pegs are low and they scrape quite easily, so you don't really get into that sporty position. But overall, even if you want to do track day with this motorcycle, I think it's quite good. But of course, it doesn't feel as dialed in as a street triple RS, because that motorcycle does adjustable suspension and it is made for track usage. So Monster is more of a street naked. You're going to ride in the street, and in real world, I think this is probably going to be more fun because this has a little more character than the street triple, I'd say. Now, other thing that I really like about this motorcycle is the electronics package. They don't interfere as much. And that's what we've also experienced with other Ducati motorcycles. The electronics are very sophisticated. They don't let you know that they're working in the background. They're saving your face from a fall or whatever. So in that regard, I think this is again a great motorcycle. The brakes are really phenomenal, a good bite, and you can feel it. Overall, I think it is a fun machine, and it's a big step up over the old Monster. The old Monster felt very heavy and cumbersome, but this one feels very light on its feet, and it's very accessible also. So if you're someone, you want to buy a new motorcycle also, the power delivery, it's going to overwhelm you, of course, after a point in time. But in terms of its shape, in terms of its dimensions, in terms of seat height, in terms of how you ride it, it's very comfortable, very friendly. But at the same time, it has its Ducati element. The fit and finish is phenomenal. It is a great motorcycle overall. You get all the gizmos that you would want in a motorcycle of this segment or this shape or this size. So in that regard, you're covered. Of course, it's priced at around 10 lakh rupees, and there are 3 color options available. There are also a lot of accessories. So if you're going to opt for those, the prices are going to climb up very quickly. But overall, the Monster, well, it's still a monster in that sense. It is a great motorcycle, but overall I think it has become much more friendly. I think I'll wrap up this review by just 2 things. The 2 things that stand out on this motorcycle for me, Well, first it's the engine. It is very tractable, it is fun, and I'm sure on the street also it's going to feel just as good. You can make the engine has a lot of character, it has a lot of grunt, but at the same time it's not aggressive or as jerky as the old bike's engine. And the biggest change is of course the frame, because it now feels like a proper street naked. You can also take it on the track, and I was pleasantly surprised with the way how this handled. I have a confession to make. I wasn't really a fan of the old Monster 821. I thought it was a great motorcycle, but I thought it was selling because of the Ducati brand or the legacy it had. But now, even though it doesn't have that traditional trellis frame, well, I think the whole motorcycle, it is a complete package, and I think it is definitely going to give its rivals a run for their money.